Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin the funeral service. We ask for those that are standing to please be seated. No, we're good, we're good. We're good. No, we're gonna turn it closed later. No, that's something else. I gave him a card, did they? There was a card on there. There's no card here. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we ask for those that are standing to please be seated. We're gonna begin the service. No, just. You're gonna sit right. Do you wanna stand or do you wanna sit?
Say a few words.
No, you just read.
Okay, I'm okay.
You standing or sitting? It's totally up to you. And if you have to sit, just sit down and just take the microphone with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Simcha. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come together, a very solemn occasion, to pay respects to an individual for whom I feel very strongly deserve the respects. One tries to learn something from everybody that you meet. All human beings are important. Some people just you take note of. Some people really convey a message and are somebody to learn from. Bernie Lisitza, Beryl Ben Avram, was a person from whom I was able to learn a great deal. I spent my entire adult life studying. And yet, when you see a human being practicing great deeds, nonetheless, you learn a lesson. And that's what I have gathered. And although it was not the easiest thing for me to be here today, nonetheless, I feel very strongly that he certainly deserves it. So my words should be taken in that context. Bernie was born in a situation and a time that was very difficult. Difficult for the world. Difficult for the Jews, more so. Hundreds of thousands of Jews were being killed a day. The world was at war. And his life was not an easy one. Yet nonetheless, he made what I would call a bench out of himself. Pursued education, pursued good friends, and pursued a destiny. Most important, he married a wonderful woman, Nessa, to go through this difficult period together with him, which she did very, very well, very capably, and very well. And he became a real professional from a background which most people just dropped out of school. He became a professional. And he worked very hard. But he supported his family. He gave them the things that they needed. And he provided for them an atmosphere and a place to grow and to become, again, what I would call that itself is to be lauded. But over the years, and I know Bernie 25 years, and when I say I know him, I mean I really know him. We would speak, usually, we would speak several times a day. And I knew everything that was going on in his life. When I first met him, he was an itinerant pharmacist, going from city to city for a certain amount of limited time, and earning a livelihood with some difficulty. This was after the period that he had his own store in Itasca. And he really worked very hard, difficult hours, difficult driving, to provide what was needed. One fine day, he comes to me and he says he wants to speak to me about something that he's working on. And he tells me that some kind of story about claims with pharmaceutical companies and enormous amounts of money. After that conversation, I came home and I told my wife, you know, I just heard the most bizarre thing I remember hearing. Absolutely out of space. Crazy. Well, this absolutely absurd thing turned out to be a magnificent, magnificent gift, which could only have come directly from the Almighty. It was so out of the natural sphere of things. Well, then there began a whole different process, and we began to talk about different kinds of things. And I want to say, and this is what I learned from him. The central book of Musar, of piety in Judaism over the years, has developed to be the Mesilas Yesharim by Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto of the 15th century. The first sentence in that work is as follows: Yesod HaChasidus, the basis of all piety, v'shoresh ha'avoda hatzmima, and the root of all holy service, sheyeda, that a person should know, ma chovaso ba'olamo, what is his obligation in his world. Ubima yosim mevato umagamoso, and where he should put his efforts, kol yamei chayav, all the days of his life. And although Bernie never formally attended a yeshiva, I say formally attended a yeshiva because I sent him to the Hebrew Theological College to study with some people, but formally he never had this education. And yet, Bernie was able to discern what it was that he was supposed to do at that point in life. He had no aspirations to spend it on his own, certainly not on himself, certainly not frivolously, but to do something good with it. And that he did. And I tried as best as I could to direct him, to point things out to him, and to do things with him. But it wasn't as if he needed me to hold his hand all through the way. Once he recognized something, he understood it, and he was on his own. He flew on his own. That was his intelligence, and that was his God-given gift of understanding, of knowledge, and of purity of the heart. Because there was never a person that I met, ever, who had as tender a heart as did Bernie Lisitza, who felt for everyone who came to him, who understood the needs of everyone, who sympathized, and who gave people with whom he had almost nothing to do a great deal of help, what was needed. How many people he put on his feet, on their feet, how he got them going in life, how he protected them. There are so many. And there are many that I'm not even aware of. He wasn't the kind of person to boast for everything that he was doing. But every once in a while, the question broached halacha, Jewish law. What should be done? And those times he spoke to me. But he was a good person on his own. I think everyone knows that he was instrumental in providing our synagogue, Young Israel of Northbrook, with a beautiful place to welcome God's presence in this world. He loved donating to causes in the land of Israel. But very importantly, he loved coming to the synagogue and praying. After working on it for some time, and it wasn't easy, but with a great deal of effort, and coaching, he managed to learn enough to be able to lead the services himself, which he did very capably and beautifully. But after all is said and done, and the sun shines all day long, the end of the day is that he left a family which carries on a tradition from him, which is very beautiful. He was proud of all of his children, Philip, Randy, David, proud of their spouses, happy to see them and to welcome them, and happy to be welcomed by them. I'm looking at the family, your children, and I can tell you that I know about all of your children. Some escapades that are very, very beautiful. Some experiences that are the most meaningful. But he was happy and proud of everyone. Probably more important than anything is the fact that so often he would mention his relationship with his wife, Nessa. I guess when one is married for over 60 years, this is to be appreciated. I don't know too many people who come from a background of complete non-observance, no education, Judaically, who have accomplished what he accomplished. He was a person who was a seeker. Every Saturday, every Shabbat, after I spoke, he would have something to say about it. What we learned on Tuesday nights, we had a class for several decades. And what he learned, he put into practice. And he shared. I know he shared it with David and Philip and with Randy. I know that he came back to me with their reactions. But the truth is, the analysis I gave you is the most important thing. And that is, Bernie was able to understand and recognize why he was on this planet. A question that every human being should be grappling with, almost none do. What am I here for? What am I supposed to do? If the Almighty showers me with money, what do I do with it? And he was able to answer that question adequately, and I believe correctly. And this is due to the fact that his emotions, his mentality, his feelings were those of a great human being, a gadol, as we would say. He wasn't he may have been short, but he wasn't a small person. He was a giant of a human being. And in this way, he gives something to anybody who was associated with him, but especially to his immediate family. And if there's one thing I would say to his children, it is to recognize this legacy of his, to search and to be seeking people, looking for things, looking for opportunities to grow, to learn, to become better, to become bigger people. This is the challenge that every human being faces. But you are fortunate enough to have someone who had a roadmap. There's one other thing I want to mention, which I don't have firsthand knowledge of. And that is, he felt very, very strongly and closely to his mother. And I understand the reason is because she was really responsible for bringing him up and sacrificed a great deal for him. This is what I understood from him. And, he pointed things out that he did in her memory. I can say to you, Philip, Randy, David, your mother faces a giant hurdle to overcome or to live with this loss. And you must stand by her side and help her get through this. And in addition, to stand proudly that Bernie Lisitza was my father. And he helped innumerable people in so many ways. People with whom he had no obligation whatsoever. In so many ways. And in this way, he made mankind and the Jewish people greater in the eyes of God. May his memory be for a blessing. May we all merit to be inspired by those good things and to achieve in our own life what we can as he did in his. Tehei nishmas Baruch Bilal Amovis Lonetzach, for the day that God will eradicate death forever. Umoch Hashem panim el me'er, umoch Hashem dima me'el kol panim, and when God erases the tears from every cheek, let us merit those days. I'm going to ask everyone to rise. A moment of respect and courtesy. You are all knowledgeable of his simpleness and of his humility, and so I had a difficult time in convincing someone in the family to say a few words. But I'm going to call upon David. Please come forward. Well, who's saying? Who's Philip?
Age before beauty.
Oh, just go.
Please, I wasn't. Yes, I did. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I didn't know you wanted to speak.
Can I help you in some way? Please be seated. We're on to the comedy portion. What?
Down this one?
Turn me around.
Of course, of course.
Okay. Do you want?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Rabbi Berger for your kind and insightful and inspiring words. I know what a comfort and a support and a friend you were to him all these years. And so, thank you. It means a lot that you're here. I spent a lot of time thinking about how to describe my father, how to explain the man that I knew. And this might sound odd, but the first word that came to my mind was affable. He was able to go anywhere and make friends. He made friends everywhere. And I think the number of people here is a testament to that. And one of the ways that he really connected with people or engaged with people was through humor. Everything I know about telling a joke, I learned from my father. If I say the words, a Bernie joke, I think most of you know what I mean. And I think most of you have heard more than one. I can't repeat them here, but he was very funny. He was also very generous, as the rabbi said. He loved helping people, and he wanted to help everyone. It didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter if he even knew you at all. One of the stories he told me, and this is a small example of what the rabbi was talking about, when he was a traveling pharmacist, if he ever caught anyone stealing or shoplifting or whatever, he didn't turn them in. He didn't call the police. He bought them the thing that they were stealing. Because he remembered what it was like to be desperate. I didn't think I'd be emotional. I'm sorry. He was also the finest human being on the earth in a crisis. He would jump into action at the drop of a hat. I know I could call Dad from a Mexican prison at 2 o'clock in the morning, and he'd be there in 3 hours with an army of lawyers to introduce me to his new best friend, the warden. I'm not much of a public speaker. I'm giving it a shot. I'm going to miss him. Even the complaining. I certainly don't know who I'm going to call when I have a medical issue. I think I might have to find an actual doctor. But it's going to leave a hole. He was a large part of my life, as the rabbi said, a large part of all of our lives. I know he would really appreciate seeing all of you here, and that he'd be very gratified that all of you thought of him. And so for the family, I just want to say how much we appreciate that you're all here for us at this time. And thank you for coming. David?
Brought the wrong glasses too. So, thank you again. Thank you, Rabbi Berger. I think the most important thing that I learned from my dad was just his enormous emotional participation in living. He did not do anything halfway. He was never a bystander in anything. And he sang, and he cried, and he danced. And it was especially true in his religious observance and his Yiddishkeit, long before he had any kind of, the outrageous success that was spoken about. He would tell me about growing up with his mother, my Babi Shalom, and that she covered her hair, that when she had nothing, she gave to tzedakah and ran around with a pushka for a Jewish home for the blind, and that his brothers, were both Marines. They were the toughest people. They were terrifying, but these men would cry at the Torah when they would come up. And, he changed schools when he was growing up. He would say that he was started out in Cheder, but never had a chance, that he changed schools 27 times or more, some number that was just amazing. And he took me, when I was a kid, we always worked he took me to the Jewish Home for the Blind, and we would have Yom Kippur there and Rosh Hashanah there. And it was very intense. And he loved it. And he did bring us there, and there were things involved, like we had 2 nights of Pesach. He took us to the Jewish Home for the Blind, and I saw him. I got to see how he worshipped, what it meant to him. It's something I can't do, but he would sit and have this connection to what was going on. And it's a word you hear a lot. You need a connection. And you don't get that. You get that from seeing him. How deep down it was in his kishkas to just be there. I went to Israel, and I essentially dropped out of law school. I didn't drop out, but that's what it looked like. Went in the middle of law school and went to Israel to study. And he was completely supportive of this. And my mother was completely supportive of this. That's a crazy thing, and I can't understand it now. But they were. I just wandered around. I had no communication. And when I came back, he was so excited that he was looking for a reason to get deeply involved in a shul, in Torah. He would have done it anyway. He was just waiting for this excuse, and it didn't come. It's not like he said, "Okay, I had this material success. Now I'm going to get involved." This was before. This was during the lowest time, And I came back, and he had a shidduch with Rabbi Berger, and he had, due tefillin that he was very proud of, and he went to shul, became a mainstay of that shul. And my favorite yontiv was Yom Kippur with my dad at the shul, for sure. And, when he started to have that success, we had a plan, and we immediately went to Israel together. And being in Israel with my dad, you can't imagine what it was like. I had to be personal security for him in a way. He made friends with everyone. We met the chief rabbi. We met the head of the mir. We wandered around. We teased young guys and children in Cheder. We ran all over the country. He wanted to explore its boundaries. I mean, we went everywhere and talked to everyone. And he would sit down, and I remember we went to a shul in Tzvat, and they came to him and they brought their heating bill and for an aliyah. And he said, "Oh, the heating bill, sure." And they said, No, the heating bill for a year. And he said something like, "No, the heating bill for 10 years. And it was just, that's, how he was. He wanted to help anyone that he met that way. And I just remember that, the connection that he had. And I remember he had a bar mitzvah celebration, I think at 63 or 73, where he wanted to, or some age that he just found an excuse, and he just prayed and sang and davened musaf, and he always, would, like I said, cry and laugh and pray for it all, and he just had it in his kishkas, and he always counted it as running through his mother, but it was just in him, and we never know what that is going to be. Like, what does it mean to make these things accessible to your next generation or to yourself? And I'm still doing that, trying to see how to be not just like a bystander, because that's how I like to be. But I've just never met anyone more involved in the business of being in shul, of davening, that he could close his eyes and just experience something, deep down, that you could see. It was he had just an enormous soul, just an unbelievable participation that he gave to everything in life that everyone else talked about. Whatever it was, humor or food or project or just a caper in a way that he ran, that maybe it was just remarkable, but it was just so exciting, like the rabbi said, to see this just burning, flaming fire that took hold of him when it came to things that were Jewish and supporting the community and that area. And then it was just very remarkable lessons that he taught me and the family. And he just had that was, to me, this amazing quality of his, was just an enormous, capacious soul that just couldn't fit into anything or anywhere or any project. It just went to ran over into beautiful extremes in everything that he did, and really helped, showing what it means to have something so deep down and ingrained. And he liked the word steeped. That's what he was. He was steeped. He was steeped in life and gave flavor to everything that he was involved in, to the utmost. So thank you all again for coming. And thank you everyone for coming out and for speaking too.
That was most of the time.
Okay,
After the film over.
what is that?
Like now.
Okay. Do you do it?
No.
And,
What do you do? Some clubhouse.
is that, is it come back down? Or do you want to go?
He's coming here.
Good?
No, he's gonna stand up. I'll take care of
The cottage in the cemetery, not here.
I got it.
it. You say come on?
What?
You want to say come on? You want to
Come on. Who said?
I'm not gonna say it, but I'll get somebody.
Awesome. Do you need anything? Water? Yeah.
What's the wife's name?
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
What's the last name?
Topaz. Did I mention that?
Please rise. El malei rachamim, shechein b'amreimim, hamtzei menucha nechaina, tachas kanfei hashchina, b'ma'elis kedoshim utahirim, kezeir harakia, mazhirim es nishmas, Berel ben Avraham, shehalach leilamai, b'ganei dentei menuchasai, לכן בעל הרחם אם יסתיר בססר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרע בצרע חיים אס נשמסי ידיני ונחלסי וינוח בשלום על משכבי ונאמר אמן.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the funeral here at the chapel. The interment will take place at Shalom Memorial Park. For those who will be driving to the cemetery, you'll be lining up in a parking lot on the west side of our building. We ask that you have your headlights and hazard lights on while in procession and drive as close as safety permits to the vehicle in front of you. The family will be sitting Shiva at 1210 North Avenue in Highland Park. They'll be there today till 8 p.m. and then Thursday from 1 till 4 p.m. Please remain standing as we escort the casket from the chapel. Wait, your hat back? Really? Really? Yes, yes.
One minute, Melvin, 1 minute. David, Philip, Randy, walk behind.
No, they'll walk behind.
Walk behind. Walk behind.
Oh, she goes. What? Oh, we're gonna go right. Just leave your stuff.
Leave it?
We'll get it. Don't worry.
No one,
They don't look like criminals, don't get it. One right in here. Gotta go, we'll do Korea. We're gonna do Korea.
We'll create that.
Yeah.